Hey guys, my wife and I just recently picked up this BMW 328i. It's a 2010, it's the inline 6 non-turboed engine. Buying a used car can be pretty overwhelming for some people. Some people aren't comfortable getting a used car, but if you can do a little research before you buy it, you may end up saving a lot of money. Here's a few things that I do before I start looking at cars, and follow along.
Okay, so I use three main websites when I'm buying a used car. First thing I do, I go to carcomplaints.com. It's an awesome website. It's a great resource for people. It's community-based. Basically, if you own a car and you have an issue with it, you can come on here and you can say what that issue was. Car complaints, they'll take it and they'll categorize it between the year, what kind of a component was a problem, if it was an engine, suspension, transmission, whatever the issue is, it'll compile it into an easy-to-read list for you. So this is the first website I go to. Hopefully you have an idea in mind of what kind of car you want, or several cars, and this is where my research starts. So in our case, my wife found a BMW she really liked. You can see here, we click on the BMW link. It will show all the makes and models. In this case, we're looking at the 328i. So we scroll down to 328i, and if you look at all these different models, you can see how many complaints there are. One thing to keep in mind, just because something has a lot of complaints does not mean it's going to be a bad car. It just means that they are very popular and a lot of people drive them. So if we look at 328, open this up, it'll show what the worst model year is. It'll say why it's the worst model. It'll say common issues. And then here's a graph of all the years. We're looking at the 2010. Go ahead and open that up. We scroll down, we can see, okay, it had some brake problems, it had some engine problems, and it had some seat belts. For me, I want to look at the engine problems and find out why. Someone said it died while driving. You can come down and typically read, if we open this up farther, come down here and look at more in depth what happened to this person. I already read this. Basically, someone says it just stopped after so many miles. It didn't sound like there was problems with actual internal engine. It doesn't say exactly what the problem is. If the person comes back and complains, they can come back and then say what the common problem is. So if we look back at the brakes that were listed, brake problems. Come over here, someone says, okay, the car was shaking while braking. Click that open. You can read about, here it is right here, read their woes. Now come up here and say, okay, the common solution was they replaced the brakes and the rotors. That fixed the issue. To give you an example of why high complaints does not necessarily mean a bad car, we look at Ford, and if we go to the F-150, there's 5,300 complaints about it. F-150 is a great truck, but it is the most common truck on the road in America. So it makes sense that there's a lot of complaints about it. So I go to here, carcomplaints.com. I do a little research, find out what common issues there are with them. Once I feel comfortable, once I feel like there's not a lot of big issues with this car, then I head on over to RockAutocom. If you've never been here, it's discounted car parts. Basically, they cut out the middleman of places like AutoZone and O'Reilly. They offer you the same parts, just at a lot better price. You just have to pay for shipping. The reason why I go to rockauto.com is because inevitably this vehicle will eventually need car parts because something breaks. So this gives me a good idea of what I'm going to have to pay to get this fixed. I just kind of have a mental list of car parts I look through. One of those is like brake pads. I know I'm going to have to eventually replace brake pads, so I open up brake pads and I look to see approximately what I can pay. Economy line, we have $5 brake pads, but we can go to high performance and we get up to the $60 range. And that's pretty on point with brake pads. My truck uses about the same kind of brake pads. Something else I look at is the electrical system. I look at the engine, what kind of oil filter or the valve cover gaskets. Those typically leak on this engine. I can see what it's going to cost to repair that. I start looking at my spark plugs. I start looking at my coil packs or my ignition coil. This point of this is this gives me a really good idea of what is this going to cost to fix this when it does go bad. The one thing on this vehicle that's a little more expensive than anything else is this vehicle does use an electric water pump. So if you come down here, you look at a water pump, Cheapest one you can buy is $235, but they do go up to almost $600. So keep that in mind. Look at a lot of different parts on here. Make sure that this is something you can afford. You may be getting a really, really good deal on an awesome car, but if you can't afford the car parts, then you may not have that car for very long. So car complaints, then Rock Auto, then I come to Edmunds. Edmunds is a great website. They give really good reviews. They show you approximately what that vehicle is going to be worth in good condition now. They'll give you pros and cons right here as a quick summary. You can scroll down, look at the full review, hit read more right there. The big thing that I like reading about is the options. Sometimes it's tough to determine what kind of options are in your car. They will split it down and say, or split it up and say, okay, the premium package adds leather, adds auto dimming mirrors, that kind of stuff. They'll also tell you specifically the 2010 highlights. So if anything changed from 2009 to 2010, here it is right here. You can also scroll down, it'll give you safety, driving, interior, and then consumer reviews as well. Everyone seems to really like these vehicles. So this is good. Geek out on this. Find out everything about this vehicle before you go look at it, so you know what you're looking at. You can identify what trim package you're getting. Gives you a good idea of what it should be worth and what you can offer. Last resource I use is Google. I just go to Google, I type in BMW 328i, common problems and solutions, or just BMW 3 Series problems. If you're looking for an F-150, just type in F-150 problems. Really simple. It'll tell you down and dirty what are some of these specific problems on these vehicles. I try to avoid forums. Online forums tend to be an area people just come to complain about their vehicles. They don't always know what they're talking about. So take forums with a grain of salt. The last thing I'll go to is Popular Mechanics used car checklist. And we can open this up. And you can print this off. It's 2 pages. It's a great resource. A lot of different things to look at for a car. This is what I'll print off when I'm actually looking at a vehicle. Anything I found through car complaints or Edmunds or through Google for common problems, I'll come down here at the bottom and I'll just chicken scratch them in. So in this case, the common problem is an oil pan gasket is leaking, or the valve cover gasket, or the oil filter gasket. Seems like every gasket on BMW leaks. So anything specifically that I want to look at, I'll just write it down here and I print this off. And then this is what I actually take with me when I look at the vehicle. The one piece of equipment that I highly recommend is getting yourself a code reader. Not just one that'll read engine lights, but it'll also read real-time data. So it'll tell you exactly when the last time the engine light was reset, warm-ups it's had since the engine light was reset or the battery was unplugged. This is a great starter checklist. When you actually go look at it, you can see here they make it really simple. Green, yellow, red on the seriousness of issues. If you're someone like me, and there's a lot of red issues, may not be worth buying. However, you may be able to get a really good deal for it to make it worth it. So again, thanks for watching. This is quick, down and dirty. If you guys have some better ideas on how you can get used cars, how you can be educated going into looking at vehicles, please comment section below. Let me know. Again, thanks for watching.